Hello friends, today I want to show you a component that we developed for our game Plane Shift, and this component allows you to create sounds in an area and randomize their position inside that area. This is very useful, for example, if you have a forest or a lake or a river area where you want to spawn some ambient sounds like frogs or birds or any other kind of sound, and you don't want the sound to be always in the same place. With standard Unreal, you can place a sound source, but the sound source will basically stay where it is unless you add some logic, to the blueprints, which is exactly what we did. So the component is called PS Ranged Ambient Sound, and you can just drop it into your level. And when you drop it into your level, you will see a kind of a box, which is our controller that decides the sides of the area. So you can click here on sound area, and you can scale this box as you want, with the standard Unreal controls. You can make it as big as you want. I mean, if you want to make it 10 by 10 or 10 by 15, and you want to, change the height as well, you can. The only thing when you're moving the component, be sure to move the wall actor so that everything goes with it, right? So this will be your randomized sound component. Now there are a few parameters that you want to set. And by the way, if by any mistake you scale the actual actor and you don't scale the sound area, it will work anyway, because I'm doing a check on that, and I'm using both parts of the scale. So the thing you want to do, you want to first of all click on sound here and assign a specific sound source. Yes, you can put a single sound, but this is not very effective. I think the best is to create a queue that has some randomized effects. So for example, this random node is choosing between this, and you have different parameters, and this is standard Unreal, different parameters to decide how this is randomized, if you have specific weights and all of that. So I highly suggest this node. And for example, now I use the 3 sounds that are sounding very different, right? Just to show it in the demo. Here you will have your birds or your frogs or your background sound, ambient sounds. And so we are going to associate this sound to our new component, right? Which is this one. Then the other thing that you have to do, you have to click on Override Attenuation. This is giving you 2 new Gizmo controllers or Gizmo parts, and one is the inner radius. The inner radius is the area where, or the radius where you have the sound to be at 100%. So inside that area, the sound will be at 100% volume all the time. And then the fall of distance is something that you may decide, which is when the sound fades away and reaches 0. So basically here the sound is 100 and here the sound is 0, right? So it means that your 50% will be around in the middle. And it is all standard, Unreal Engine stuff. But then I added a few parameters. So if you go under the Plane Shift attributes category, you see that you have a random position. If you click on random position, now this thing will start to move at runtime within your box, right? And it will move choosing a random position vertically, horizontally on the X and Y. So it will stay within the area. Now consider that, for example, if you choose, let's say that your random position will be at the border, right? Then potentially your area, will go outside of the border. So just be aware of that. So it depends also how big you define the attenuation area and the inner radius. But apart from that, if we go back to the Plane Shift attributes, you see that I added a pose minimum and pose maximum. So basically what the component will do, let's say that we have a pose of 5 and 5, right? Minimum and maximum being the same. So what will happen is that every 5 seconds, it will randomize a new position and will play your sound. Then it will wait 5 seconds and they will randomize another sound. So basically the player will hear a pause of about 5 seconds, depending on how long is your wave. But you can also do it differently. You can have a pause between 5 and 10, so that the pause is also randomized, right? And this is giving a more of a realistic feeling maybe to the sound. So imagine again you are on a river and you hear some birds, and the birds are not singing always in the same way, and they are not singing always at the same time, and so it is giving a bit of more of a variation. Then another important thing is the active during the day, active during the night. I added to the code the possibility to decide if this particular sound is acting during the day hours or the night hours. For example, I don't know, at night you can have birds, that are different, like an owl or something like that, while during the day you can have the normal birds. And so if you say during the night, there are actually 2 ways to hook the day and night cycle into your code, into your blueprints. Obviously, this really depends on your game, so I couldn't give you, a standard way to do this. So there is a function that is it is day, which is just checking if it's day or night. And at the moment, I just put the real world time between 7 and 21 is considered day. But I also added a dispatcher that you can use for the same purpose, which you can hook an event, from your game to decide if there is a switch between day and night, because the sounds need to stop. Okay, but this part you will have to basically implement it based on your game logic. And then I added another parameter which is called Debug Sphere, and this Debug Sphere basically allows you to see a blue sphere where the sound is generated. Obviously, when you're running the game, when you're packaging your game, you want this to be disabled, but I think it can be nice as a debug tool for you to understand if this component is actually working and how it's working. So if we start the game, we can see that the sound is getting generated with the number of seconds that we have decided, right? So you can see the blue sphere. I placed another one here, so you can place as many as you want. And you see that the blue sphere is generated and there is a sound. You can hear the sound. Obviously, you can hear the sound if you are close to the sound, right? If the player if the air is very big and the player is far away from it, like this, it will not hear it. So which is exactly the beauty of the randomized sounds, right? Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. I think it's a very handy tool. So at the moment, if you want to download this component, which by the way is only Blueprint, there is no C++ involved, you have a link in the description below for our Patreon, and you can join with the minimum tier. And in the minimum tier, you have access to everything related to Unreal, and there are also other components part of it, so maybe they could be also useful to you. Okay, so goodbye, have a good day.